I'm Mike Kohler. I'm part of the Detroit Radio Advertising Group board, and we want to thank everybody for coming here tonight. And there'll be some other remarks a little bit later. But this is for the celebration for Mr. Bill Burton. But right now we're going to have Jerry Fournier come up, and he's going to tell us a little bit about Bill's background and from the family perspective. And then I'll come back on. We got a little video that Art put together, which was tremendous, and I'm really excited to be able to share that with you guys tonight.
How's everybody doing?
Great.
Yeah. I don't be fabulous. That's right. I don't have the Bill Burton smile because my mother was a Burton, but for some reason Bill got all the better looks than I did. But I guess I'm Bill's first cousin. There's some other first cousins here, and of course Carol, his wife, my wife Morna. I just wanted to make a few remarks from the family side of Bill, and I don't know if you all know that. I know you all know about the business side because you work with him, and it's hard not to know about that. Bill's mother and dad were both raised on a farm in Tennessee. Did any of you know that? Okay. He used to talk about being a country boy. His brother Rod, any of you remember Rod Burton? Yeah. He used to talk more about being a country boy. But anyway, there was 6 of them raised on this farm in Tennessee. It was in Smith County or DeKalb County. If they went one place, it was one county, and the other was the other county. But and it's probably the most mountainous part of Tennessee. It's east of Nashville, about 40 or 50 miles. Really, a great place, but a lot of country people, and that's where the Burton clan was raised. There were 6 of them, and what happened during the war, like everything else, farming, you couldn't make a lot of money, and a lot of them started migrating to Detroit because of the automotive industry, all those things going on there. And Bill's dad, my mother, my cousin's mother over there, and my Uncle Chuck's wife did that, and a lot of people came to Detroit from Tennessee and for better job opportunities. So, and there's still, at that point, was still one brother left that took care of the farm and was there up until, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago when he finally passed away. We still go back there, but Bill was born on the east side of Detroit. His dad was a policeman in Detroit. He came from Tennessee and became a patrolman and opened a famous tavern called Burton's Bar, and it was on Kirchville and Alder Road, right on the Grosse Pointe Detroit line, and that was where a lot of the police officers would go, and anybody that went there, and that was Bill's dad. And so all I can remember is when he was a police officer, and then when he had the bar, and he married a lady from Tennessee, May, Bill's dad, and they lived on Buckingham in Detroit, just off of Warren Avenue. Bill, of course, as you all know, graduated from Michigan State, which a lot of us did. And he had a degree in advertising. He was a member of the Lambda Chi fraternity. And believe it or not, our home is right now in Port Sanilac, Michigan, up on Lake Huron, 5 months, 7 months in Naples, Bonita Springs area. I have a good friend up in Port Sanilac, Jim Maxey, who's in his 80s, and I see him every Thursday. We have this therapy session that we go to, and I was talking to him about my cousin, and I mentioned Bill Burton, and he says, well, I went to Michigan State with him. I was a Lambda Chi, and we got talking, and he just found out that Bill died, and he says, I can tell you, he was the best dressed person at Michigan State. They talked about his closet in the fraternity house, and all these sport coats were lined up, and if any of you have been to his house in Bloomfield, I think Carol knows about those. And double-breasted stuff, and as a student, he was that way. So he got voted, I guess, the best dressed member of the fraternity. Bill served in Korea. Does everybody know that or remember that? Thank you. And he was an MP. He was very proud of that. He had a very famous brother, Rod, who was part of AdCraft, and he worked for Maxim Advertising. I had a brother who passed away, who had a degree in advertising, and he was 9 years older than me, and he got out of school, and Rod gave him a job at Maxim Advertising as an intern to learn the advertising business. So the Burtons were always trying to help people get established, in their careers, and advertising was a big part of it. And then in 1985, Bill married Carol, as he would say, Carol Sue, and he'd get that grin on his face, that Burton smile, whenever he would say that. And sometimes he'd even say Carol Sue when he was mad at her. But they got married in 1985. But Morna and I had the pleasure, we have a place in Bonita Springs that we're there 7 months a year, and for the past 7 years, up until last year, Bill and Carol would spend 2 months down there. So we had a chance to see them and experience Bill, experience Carol, and all of Bill's mannerisms and things like that. I used to take him to coffee at the marina. There's a bunch of guys that go there for coffee. And I says, Bill, you got to go to coffee with me. So we'd go down there, and he'd look at everybody, and he said, I don't want to be like any of them. They don't have anything to do. I said, Bill, they're retired. They're having fun. I says, you can come to coffee, and if you have a problem with your toilet, you can get it fixed. If you have a problem with your plumbing or anything about you, they'll tell you somebody that can help you out. And so anyway, what Bill would do at coffee, and he was kind of an outsider, but he'd always get next to somebody, and his line was like, where are you from? And they'd say Milwaukee, and he'd start doing the call letters of the radio station, and then that went into Eastman Radio. And I mean, he had the gift of gab that was great, and everybody loved that. He did a lot, as most of you know, in mentoring people, students. I remember North Farmington High School. He talked to a class of high school students, and he brought me along because I guess he figured I could deal with the high school students, but told them all about advertising and how nothing happens until somebody sells something. And he was very interested in mentoring people. My daughter, Kelly Fournier's here. I don't know if any of you know her, but she got a degree from Michigan State in communications. Most of it was, I think, in the sorority and drinking, but when she got out, she needed to get a job, and I told her, you got to go see Bill. And so Bill would take her around and show her. I mean, I remember going to these, I don't know, it was the Fisher Building or whatever, and Bill had a plate of cinnamon rolls, and he says, watch this, and he'd be able to get into the executive secretary's office because of the cinnamon rolls, and then get a meeting with the executive to talk about why they needed to advertise. And Kelly, she's back there laughing and waving her hands, had the opportunity to see how networking and things like that work. And Bill was a pro at that, as you all know. Kelly, believe it or not, made a lot of money in radio advertising for 9 years. She worked in, what stations, Kelly? 95. But she did a great job and loved it, made money. And now she's in pharmaceutical sales making more money. But without Bill, that would not have happened. And he was great at doing that. We always got his annual letter at New Year's, and about being positive and be fabulous and all that, and that was important. He was a very positive person. And I guess I'll just wind this up. I always use the word classic, and everybody says, well, you said that person was a classic, or that bar was a classic, or this restaurant's a classic. How can they all be classics? I said, well, my definition of a classic is the best in class. So, if you're the best in your class, you're a classic, and Bill definitely, I consider him a classic, and you know, he was just a great guy, and we're all much better off because we met him and we related to him, and I just wanted to say a few remarks from the family's perspective, I guess. And we heard about advertising every Christmas, every Thanksgiving, and we used to always hear about Bob Lickett too, and I know he's here. Thank you very much.
All right, so we're going to get this DVD thing, this show started, but the people on the side, you probably want to go this way a little bit because there's a glare on the screen and all. When we were setting this whole thing up, we were going like, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to, put something together that makes sense for everybody? And the only person I could think of going to, and Carol and I talked about this, was to see Mr. Art Volo. And we sat down with Art. There were some vacations or some other things in the way and whatever, but over this past holiday weekend, he actually got it together. And it really came out nice. I'm glad I was able to see it ahead of time. I think you'll enjoy it.
You had the time of your life. So take the photographs and still frames in your mind, hang it on a shelf in good health and good time. Tattoos and memories and dead skin on trial. For what it's worth, it was worth all the while. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life.
We had such happiness together. I can't believe it's gone forever. Wait till summer comes again. I'll hope that you remember when yesterday's gone. Yesterday's gone.
Let's give away a good guy sweatshirt. It pays to listen to the good guys on
WMCA, yeah.
Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. Oh, I believe in yesterday.
They said it really loud, they said it on the air, on the radio. Whoa, on the video. Bill, I love you so. Don't mess with Bill. Don't mess with Bill.
Enthusiasm. I truly believe enthusiasm makes the difference. You gotta be fabulous. You gotta have the winning edge. And will you help me, Joe, with this? Come on now, baby, hit it.
Ad captor Bill Burton.
The serious part of the program up here, okay? You're a fabulous looking group. It's my distinct pleasure to introduce the #1 radio personality in America,
Bill Burton.
Bill Burton. Mr. Fabulous himself, Mr. Bill Burton. Be Fabulous, Lifetime Achievement Award. The star of our show, Dick Burton.
Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Harvey.
I met Bill for the first time, who told me a joke in the bathroom that I'm proud to say I can't share with any of you. And he looks over and tells me a joke that I can't share with you. I wasn't expecting, he said, nice guy, you know. And he just fires off this joke that can't be repeated.
I've been beating the drum for this for a lot of years.
Is it halftime at the game? I don't know what's going on up here.
Fabulous job. Be fabulous means be the best you can be. And it's a fabulous crowd, good-looking crowd here today. Change is a way of life, and I don't have any problem with it. Things, it's a new world we live in. It's still a people business out there with all the modern things that we live with. And it's a fantastic sales vehicle. An automobile is still a radio with 4 wheels with me, okay? And be fabulous, good friend.
Come on, Bill.
Art Volo right there, man. Okay. Well, we'll show that again a little bit later, maybe because some of you might not be able to see it all very well or well enough. Trying to get this thing back in here so it don't fall. But I'm also going to have Ken Rogalski from WJR. There's a number of people that couldn't make it here today, and we want to thank all the ones that could make it, especially the out-of-towners. I know you went through expense and time and all that to get here, and we much appreciated that. Carol and I are so grateful for your love, your support. The Drag Board appreciates it. I'd ask Carol to come up here, but she would not do that. But please make sure you catch up with her if you haven't already and all. I'm going to have Ken come up here, start this up. He has some tributes from some people that couldn't be here today, and Ken, take it away.
Thanks, Mike. Art, great job. Give Art Volo a hand. Bill always used to call on the telephone. He said, Kenny, can you do a newscast for us? And how can you turn Bill down? I mean, just enthusiastic all the time. And he says, give us a special little newscast. So with that in mind, the news that you're going to hear today is actually happening. Oh, by the way, without people like Bill and the sales staff like Tom O'Brien, Greg Smith, Rick Burkhart, and Don Schuster, we wouldn't be here today. They bring in the money, so give them a big round of applause too. They're from WJR, and also we brought out one of our WJR alumni, Bob Liggett. Bob, where you at? Good to see you, Bob. With bankruptcy officially in the rearview mirror, the city of Detroit continues to make progress. Mayor Duggan says the city is now operating on a balanced budget and should show a modest surplus for the current fiscal year. It'll take 3 consecutive years of running a balanced budget before the state gets out from under state supervision, but Duggan says it is very doable. The city has installed more than 40,000 new streetlights. Lighting director Otis Jones says the entire city will be relit with new energy-efficient lights by the end of this year. Cass Avenue has become one of the hottest addresses that young Detroiters are calling home. Occupancy rates in apartments and condos are in the 96% rate. The area once known as Skid Row now has rows and rows and rows of new buildings, and a new hockey arena is under construction just down the street. The wheels are turning at the Detroit 3. General Motors, Ford, and Fiat Chrysler are enjoying their best sales periods in decades. GM CEO Mary Barra says vehicle sales could hit 17 million by the end of this year. And speaking of hot sellers, the Ford Mustang is the hottest selling sports car in China. The Ford Flat Rock plant is producing left-hand steering Mustangs for here and right-hand steering Mustangs for the rest of the world market. And for the first time, first third of this calendar year, Ford has sold 42,955 units. And they're projecting to sell over 1 million Mustangs, all made in Michigan. Yes. And probably Bill's best message was the one that you just saw a part of here at the end of 2014. Be positive, be enthusiastic, be persistent, be smart, be thankful, and above all, be fabulous. Now, there are a number of people who just couldn't be here tonight but would love to be here. One of them was Ellen Davidson from Brogan. Bill would call me his illegitimate child when we'd spoke on the phone, and you could always tell when Bill had entered the room by the smell of his cologne. Bill said you could never forget my name because it sounds like his secretary's first name. From the friends at Jacobs Media, we're all inextricably connected to Bill throughout our Detroit radio careers, but it ran much deeper than that. Bill Jacobs' first job out of Michigan State was with Eastman Radio in New York City, and he was influenced by the insatiable positive energy that was Bill Burton. To a kid fresh out of Spartanville, and of course that helped, Bill was very friendly, helpful, and took time to talk to a kid who had never seen Rockefeller Center and didn't even know how to turn on a radio. At our first DAS conference, Bill insisted on being in the room, and despite his age and limited ability to get around, he was persistent. His famous line, "A car is a radio on frequency cells." Bill was genuinely excited to be on hand. It was so exciting for us to see him there, and he was so much a validation of our event. Bill Burton will be greatly missed in so many ways, but to all of us, he was the voice of positive energy for the good about radio. The industry so needs more Bill Burtons, and we have truly lost our patron saint. We'll all be out of town for this special event, or we would be here with you to celebrate Bill's life. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to honor him, Fred, Paul, and Bill Jacobs. From Jim Berline, Carol, I'm sorry I can't be here tonight. I'm doing my best to be fabulous with a new client. How can you argue with that? I feel quite lucky to have become a good friend of Bill's over the years in this crazy business. He was truly a remarkable, one-of-a-kind gentleman. His consistent optimism, his glass half-filled attitude was always an inspiration, and he helped keep things in perspective. And how he remembered my birthday when I even forgot it was a true gift. He truly will not be forgotten. We are all fortunate and better off to have Bill in our lives. Signed, Jim Berline. From the Mars Agency, Ken Barnett writes, "It's hard to write a few words for a man who created such a wake in the world. I don't want to focus on his key message. Of course, we all know what that is. And we all know that the force he was in this business, but for me, there are a few things that are quite unique about Bill. First, I have to comment on his passion. Anytime you would see somebody so locked in, so passionate, so positive, so trying to make things better for most people in a positive way, you just have to follow them and their passion. Whether it's how you stand or how you think, Bill was a great positive attitude. Second, his spirit, his energy. Bill battled pain, as some of you may never know. He battled the loss of his brother. He carried big things in his soul, but he never let them get in the way of how he portrayed himself. And last but not least, we can all learn from Bill in his passing years in his older age. He would call me every couple of months to ask, "So what are you going to be doing in the next couple of weeks that I can learn from? So how about coming to lunch so I can hear some of your bright ideas the young people are thinking about these days?" He would come as promised, dressed like he was straight out of The Great Gatsby. He'd find a couple of things to be very excited about. And he was truly one of a kind for everybody he knew and who knew him. He touched us all deeply. I'm sorry I can't be there, but I'll never forget Bill as long as I live. Ken Barnett, perpetually fabulous when I think of Bill. From Erica Farber, the president of the Radio Advertising Bureau, I'm truly sorry I'm unable to attend here today to share this incredible celebration of Bill Burton. I never had the pleasure of working directly with him or for him, and yet many of you too have had very large folders I've kept over the years of those many things that Bill said, his encouragements, his positive remarks, and all the things he meant to us. With a smile on his face and radio in his blood and a single focus, he was literally radio's greatest salesman ever. There wasn't a convention, a seminar, a broadcast gathering anywhere in America that you didn't run into Bill, and he always had a story about the guy you wanted to meet. And whether it was a person or on the phone, he opened each conversation with me by saying, "Hello, young lady." You got to be appreciative of that, don't you? To be clear, the wonderful Bill Burton, looking forward to our paths crossing again one day. Thank you for making us feel so good, so special, so smart, and so fabulous. Erica Farber from the Radio Advertising Bureau. Any radio reps in the crowd? You'll love this one. This is from Carol Lawrence at the University of Michigan Radio. One of my AEs asked Bill one time to back up the research in his Why Radio presentation. And Bill told him, just tell him you'll get it over to him right away. And then don't do it. They'll forget about it. And finally, anybody been to 21 in New York? Okay, you'll love this one. This is from John McElroy. There was a time that Bill invited me to be a speaker at some big conference in New York for the top radio muckety-mucks in America. And what the lineup of speakers included was Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Ralph Nader, and little old me. Well, the night before the conference, Bill invited me to join him for dinner at Club 21. I heard of the place but didn't know anything about it. And when I showed up for the evening and walked down the stairs toward the main entrance, I found myself face to face with two big burly guys blocking the way. They asked, "Can I help you?" "Well, I'm here for dinner," I told him. "Well, who are you here to see?" the other asked, making it obvious scorn on his face that he didn't belong here. So I said the magic words, "I'm here to see Bill Burton." And that's all it took. Broad smiles broke out on their face. They instantly stepped aside. They bowed slightly at the waist and gestured into the restaurant. "Right this way, sir. It's a pleasure to have you dine with us this evening." Well, Club 21 was kind of a weird place, and it's kind of has knickknacks, tchotchkes, memorabilia hanging from the ceiling. It looks as if someone went to a flea market and decorated the place. And in the middle of all of that was Bill sitting at one of the tables, beaming as he gestured me to the chair next to him. He began telling me about Club 21, pointing out that that used to be Frank Sinatra's table, this was Cary Grant's over here, when all of a sudden, two attractive women standing at the bar caught his attention. "These young ladies look like they could use some company," Bill said, so he flashed across the room and told me to come on over. I couldn't hear what he was saying, but he got up and went to the women and he pointed in my direction, Bill says, and they started laughing. Well, the next thing I know, the two young ladies are pulling up chairs at our table. Of course, Bill and I are dying to know who they are, who they know. Well, it turns out one of them was a former Miss New York, while the other one was a regular on the Benny Hill show. They were very beautiful, very engaging, and especially friendly, and I was so far out of my league, I didn't know what to do. And just for that moment, the maitre d' showed up at the table, and you could tell from the expression on his face, he did not like what was going on. So the maitre d' said, "Excuse me, ladies, but the other dinner guests for the party have arrived. You must leave the table." Well, we barely got to say goodbye. He whisked the two young ladies out of the restaurant, and we never saw him again. So I asked Bill, "Is someone joining us for dinner?" He goes, "No, it's just you and me, kid." So for all the years afterwards, we always laughed about our night at 21. I remember as if it were yesterday and always chuckled when I think about it. Let me just say this one thing. Anytime you're with Bill Burton, you knew it was going to be fabulous. Thank you all for coming.
All right, thanks, Ken. All right, I know there's many other people here that have stories that they want to share. So I'm going to kind of like open this as an open mic and let you come up and don't fight, but, you know, just have some fun. I mean, I've known Bill for 25 years. He is both a personal and professional friend. He's been part of my wife Deborah and our kids' family, and along with Carol for all those years. And he's just been very special. I miss him dearly, I really do. So please share your stories. There's tons of pictures and different things that Bill has over on the other side there. He's got these boxing gloves. I'm just going to share it quickly, and then I'm going to get off here and let you guys finish it up, okay? But these boxing gloves, he bought them. He wanted to take it to like a different client calls, and it was kind of like his 1-2 punch for radio, like how this can do for your advertising. So he wanted to put like, Be Fabulous on these gloves, and as you looked at it, it says Be Fabulous. It's really cool. But when you look at it, it was Fabulous B. It just didn't make any sense. I said, Bill, he started laughing. He says, oh, wait a minute. I was at Michigan State. I was a boxing, and you always led with your left and finished with your right. So it's be fabulous. And that's it. So anyways, I'm done. Next person, come on up. All right, right here.
My name is Gil Cox. I have absolutely nothing to do with radio, so I come from a little different perspective. I consider myself a very good friend of Bill Burton's, and I think he had the same feeling. It was mutual in terms of our commitment to each other. Sorry. It was mutual in terms of our commitment to each other. I met him 45 years ago in a handball court. That was the beginning. And I found out a lot of things about Bill. One was his tenacity, his perseverance. We usually didn't finish a game without some blood on the floor, blood on the walls. I mean, he was really, really committed at all times. One story I would like to relate to you is that, and very few people would have an opportunity to know this. The two of us went to New York because I had an idea on a business plan, and we wanted to introduce it to a man named John Kluge, who certainly had a big name in the radio world. And in fact, at the time, John Kluge was the richest man in the world. And we had a nice long meeting with John. And the most memorable moment in the meeting was that John looked at me and pointed at Bill and said, "That's the greatest salesman I have ever met in my life." Now this is the richest man in the world, who probably, met thousands of salesmen over the years. And it was just a wonderful moment, and Bill was so very, and rightfully, proud of that moment. Thank you.
It was Bill that showed me all of these different huge American companies, Boeing Airlines, big trucking lines. At any rate, I said, gee, I just bought Big Boy Restaurants. And Big Boy is famous for the movie that they were in with Austin Powers. And I said, he'd look good flying up above. And he said, well, let me see what I can do. And the next time, just a few weeks later actually, I came back and Big Boy was flying above table 21, which was always our table when we went to 21 Club. And so once again, a miracle man. Bill and Carol, of course, adopted our three girls. Vicki and I used to boat a lot, and we'd end up occasionally in New York and on our way down south. And Bill would take us all shopping and buy gifts for my girls. They were all about 8, 7 years old at the time, and they just loved their, we called him Gramps. So he was a wonderful part of our life in so many ways. We've spent many, many wonderful times together. We really kind of gathered as close friends. I knew of Bill Burton forever. I was a young kid, and Bill was one of the great salesmen, and Eastman Radio was representing our radio stations. And as I built my group, we knew Bill, but we really bonded and got close when we began right outside the door here with our boat, and we began to have a boat ride. Many of you have probably been on that boat ride. We did it for about 6 or 7 years, and it was a wonderful time. And from that point forward, we were friends. And he would tell me how lucky a person can be to have maybe a handful of friends, 5 people, 2 people. I mean, not a lot of people got as close as we did, and we loved each other. And we certainly enjoyed being fabulous. One quick story. Bill and I used to go to the auto shows almost every year together. It got down to everything from a wheelchair to a golf cart, but we saw it every year. And I did everything I could to get into the Chrysler program when they were debuting new cars. And I tried all my Chrysler dealer friends. I did what I could do. I was going to show Bill the works. And as it turned out, I said to Bill, I couldn't, nobody had tickets for me, but look, we'll sit over here on the side and we'll watch these new cars. And he said, "No, Bob, come here." He grabbed me by the arm as he usually does. He walks right up to Sergio Marchione. All the people who couldn't get tickets for me were watching, and I'm shaking hands with Sergio, and Bill was, chatting and going on, and we sat right in the box there with the Chrysler executives. This is the kind of guy he was. He was a person that you just don't know very often, and I met huge, wonderful people. Kluge was one of them that I got a chance to meet through him. He brought a lot of richness and love into my life. Carol and Bill have been the best of friends, and I know that he's had about 10 months now to bring some donuts to the guy at the front gate. He said, "Come in, I want to get in there and I want to see the head man, the decision maker." Everybody knows that story. And he is basically, I'm sure, making a sales pitch right now about radio and all the beautiful things that he can bring to the place he is today, looking down on us. And we love our fabulous friend. Thank you.
There are a number of people in the room. Bill created their careers. He hired me in 1972. Carl Buttram, Jerry Schubert, past president of Eastman Radio, Charlie Colombo, past executive VP, both in the 60s. And then people like Tom Sutton and Jim Marshall, Tom O'Brien, and various clients. Am I missing Eastman people? Because I just wanted to acknowledge, Lindsay's here, Lindsay Cesari. The important thing is, we all raised children, and we all did it because Bill gave us a shot. I worked in 5 Eastman cities, starting in Detroit. A number of our clients are here: Deborah Parenti, John Risher, Steve Schramm. A fabulous bunch of clients put together with a fabulous bunch of salespeople, all hired by Bill for the most part. And we are deeply indebted to him for what he gave us, our wives and our children. And I used to hang out at the Palace Hotel. Bill and Carol had a favorite pianist, and that was 1984, as they dated. So I just wanted to acknowledge the Eastman Radio people Bill made lives possible for.
I'm Deborah Parenti from Radio Inc. and a former Eastman Radio very proud client. But I'm here today to express a few words from our chairman and CEO, Eric Rhodes, who couldn't be here. Today is a special day. It's Bill Burton's memorial, and sadly I cannot be here to celebrate Bill's amazing life with you. He'd forgive me, however, because there is some selling involved today. I'm sure this room will be filled with incredible stories none of us have ever heard about Bill, but my guess is that a lot of people may say what I'm about to say, and trust me personally, this is true when I read this. Bill embraced me at a young age, and he always encouraged me. In my life, I received probably hundreds of calls from Bill, who was always displaying sincerity, interest in my family, in me, and what was going on in my life. He usually even remembered the names of my children. Something about knowing that there is this guy in your corner gave me incredible confidence. He would call, he would listen, and sometimes offer advice, but always be encouraging. He made me believe I could do the impossible. A book could be written about Bill's life and the lessons that he gave us, but as a seller, it was always start at the top. Yet I could never understand where he got the courage to call on CEOs of Ford, Chrysler, General Motors, and on. And these guys always saw him, and he always got his audience with their marketing people. It was an amazing trait I'll still never completely master. Never take no from someone who can't say yes was another Billism I'll never forget. Bill taught me to dazzle clients, but no one could do it like Bill. He spared no expense delivering clients to 21, we've all heard the stories of 21 today, in a Rolls. There should be a statue of Bill at 21. When Bill learned that I had a passion for art, he started opening doors, and one day he arranged a lunch with John Kluge, a giant art collector who was once the richest man in the world. John loved Bill as much as we all do. And Bill treated us all like we were the richest man in the world. Bill left a giant gaping hole in my life with his unexpected passing. I know most of us feel that way, but the very best I can give back to Bill now is to carry his tradition forward. I'll continue to meet every year at 21 in his honor after the Forecast Conference, and I'll make a point to embrace others, call them regularly, and encourage them. And I'll call at the top, no matter how big or who they are, knowing that Bill is on my side if I get a little intimidated. Thank you.
I just want to say a few words. I was a friend of Billy's older brother, Rod. We roomed together in East Lansing. And my brother, Grant, was a friend of Billy's. But the four of us had lunch occasionally. We talked, even though I'm a little older than you guys. I worked for Comerica Bank for about 40 years. I started with a company called Detroit Trust Company. It wasn't even a bank. But anyway, who gives a rat's ass about that? But, pardon? Say your name. Oh, my name is Gary with an I, G-A-R-I. Last name Kersten, K-E-R-S-T-E-N. My father and uncle were doctors on Gratiot, all dumb Germans. You had to be on Gratiot Avenue or you wouldn't make. I said, Pa, why'd you move out of the Whitney building, which was the Mayo Clinic of its time? He says, we couldn't pay the rent. That's why we moved out. But anyway, Rod and Billy were good friends of mine. I enjoyed them because they were high energy guys and they could make a decision. And that's what you got to do in life, is make a decision, yes or no. Move your ass. Okay, that's all I have to say.
My name is Mark Jones, and like all of us, I had the pleasure of knowing Bill Burton. But Bill was friends with my father, Ernie Jones, for many years. Ernie was the chairman of Darcy, McManus, and Macius, and Bill also knew that Ernie loved his alma mater, the University of Michigan, and especially the Michigan Marching Band. Ernie played first trumpet in the band under the great William D. Ravelli and was Dr. Ravelli's first band manager. Later in life, he helped build Ravelli Hall in Ann Arbor with Stanley Kresge. But leave it to Bill to know it was something very near and dear to Ernie's heart. So he had an idea. And for Bill, an idea was really just another opportunity to be fabulous. Bill reached out to George Cavender, the longtime director of bands at the University of Michigan, and as another example of a great sales effort on Bill's part, he made arrangements with George for the band to travel to Ernie's office in Bloomfield Hills for a surprise visit. Now, I know Bill could do his own thing at the Detroit Radio Advertising Group, but as a sales guy, I've got to tell you, I'd love to put that on my expense report. Lunch, 2 buses, and the U of M marching band. I received an early tip, so I was in Ernie's office that day. In fact, there was a group of us in Ernie's office, as if by chance, including his speechwriter, Frank Skinner, who later would go to great lengths to explain to me the origins of the word fabulous. Outside, Bill had assembled the band down the hill and out of sight by Long Lake Road. How he did that is still a bit of a mystery to me, but he did it. Ernie was standing in the corner of his office and had a perfect view of the extraordinary event that was about to unfold, the sudden appearance of the Michigan Marching Band. Around the corner and up the winding road they came, 6 across in full uniform, playing the victors, with the drum major out in front. And as leader of the band that day, Bill was right out front marching too. Ernie was just stunned and overjoyed. You could hear the band through the glass, and they just kept coming up the hill, all 200 of them. Everyone at Darcy gathered outside and around the band and Bill's Be Fabulous billboard. Eugene Ormandy once said, "Never drop the baton around Ernie, he'll be right there to pick it up." And so, true to form, he proceeded to conduct the band in another rendition of The Victors. But with his energy and enthusiasm, Bill had created something very special, a wonderful memory that lasted a lifetime. You know, Bill always encouraged everyone to be fabulous, and on that day, he truly was. Thank you.
You know, if I would have known that you were going to tell that story, I would have brought the video that we got from Channel 7 of the coverage of that. Anybody that wants a copy of what I've just recorded here today, including what you saw, I will have it produced, and I will put that clip on the tape that I'm putting together. All right, so because it's really great.
From advertising executive Bill Burton got his start, he got a lot of support and encouragement from his friend Ernie Jones, who is the chairman, it so happens, of Darcy, McManus, and Macias. It's one of the largest agencies. Burton, to say his thanks, threw a surprise party for Ernie today in a way that Ernie would appreciate. It was one of those things where everyone was in on it except the honoree. While friends gathered outside in the parking lot, Ernie Jones sat unaware in his office, and then he saw the sign. It was our cue to jump in, come down the hall into the office. And we were just in time to see and hear the University of Michigan marching band come around the bend. There was a reason for that. Jones played cornet in that band in the 30s, and he's maintained his interest in the aggregation ever since.
Put you in the mood to want to get out there and conduct? Sure.
How are you?
All right, here we go with the Victors. I hope that sign does better than when we had Gold Blue just before the Rose Bowl game. All right, here we go.
That was a great thing to do for him. Truly was.
I'd say he's good people. And so are you, and have a pleasant weekend, and good night, everybody.
So I appreciate everyone being here. Is there anybody else that wanted to say anything, or back to the socializing? I'll turn it back over to Mike. Here, Mike. Thanks. Okay, that's cool. There were some great stories in there, and I really want to thank him. This was Bill's favorite place to come to. I mean, he lived just a few miles down from here originally. Bob Liggett, you're around. I'm sorry, right there. Thank you for giving us the support and sponsoring us here tonight, and allowing us to be here at the Grosse Pointe Yacht Club. Again, it was just a great place for Bill to be. Thank you, Carol, for helping host this. This is for you. He was the love of your life, and I know you loved him dearly, and we miss him dearly. So for the great Bill Burton, cheers.